Hi everyone, my name is Mukesh Sharma and you are watching U Talks. So today we are going to talk about how to perform under pressure, episode number 10. In last two episodes we talked about in episode 8 and episode 9 how do you check the top 10 solutions of managing the pressure. One was how do you befriend the moment. Second was you have to believe that the pressure situation you are working in it's one of the multiple opportunities you have. We also talked about how do you downsize the importance of something which you are in. We also talked about how do you keep your focus on the mission you have in the hand. How do you anticipate the unexpected? We talked about the rest of the five pressure solutions in episode 9, that you should recognize that you are worthy. You should recall at your best. You should use your positive GPS system and stay in the moment and be a control freak, saying that what you can control, you should only worry about that, not something about which you cannot. So today we are going to talk about the next 6 pressure solutions, which are now going to make from 10 to 16, and these are very important pressure solutions. You can see we are going to talk about carry a pressure tune. First of all, when we say carry a pressure tune, now you would have seen when you watch an IPL cricket match, the Royal Challengers Bangalore is a very nice team, but sometimes they're not able to make their ways into playoffs and they lose out. And even we have seen one of the most important sports matches, whatever you follow, some of your favorite teams may not be able to perform that much. So what happens at this point of time? So they say that in case the sports people who carry a pressure tune, like listening to music or humming your best tune should be the most important thing in your life, that will actually keep you distracted from the anxiety. And that's what it basically mentions, that you should carry a pressure tune in your mind. I remember very clearly, it was around 20 years ago when I went to Japan first time. When you go to a new country, you meet new people, you have to make presentations, you are subjected to new pressure situations. Then I was humming a tune from one of my favorite movies, DDLJ, which is an Indian movie, and I was humming the song so that it can depressurize me and mentally can relax me. So carrying a pressure tune before you are entering into a pressure situation, or even just to relax and calm yourself, is important. Sometimes it is possible that you might have a music system along with you and you can play your music song. Now everyone carries a smartphone and earphone. You can always when you're traveling and put the plug in your earbud, and then you can always listen to the music. If you don't have, in that case you can always hum a song. So carrying a pressure tune basically distracts you from having and feeling the pressure more. So this is the most important thing which we talked about. And if you talk about the second, which is the 12th solution they talk, is use an anchor or an analogy. I'm personally a very big fan of using anchors and analogy, and the reason is that I always believe that once you are learning something as a skill, it also matters the way you learn a skill, you execute it the same way. There is an example mentioned in the book. He says that how a person learns a task affects how a person performs the task in a high pressure moment. Now what basically they want to say is that they gave an assignment of performing a very important, very critical task to a group of students, and they said that some of the students were given a 10 descriptive procedural steps to perform their task, and one group was told that imagine as if you are putting a cookie in a jar, so that they actually anchored a situation of the high pressure moment with a very simple analogy and a simple task. And at least to understand that the task is not simple to put a cookie in the jar by throwing it, but they actually believe that this is an analogy which they have to follow. So it helps a lot. How I use personally in my real life, I'm personally a very big fan of cricket. So what I basically do is that whenever there's a situation I have in front, whether it is closing a deal, talking to a client, going for a presentation, or thinking about my future plans or the company plans, I always imagine that how many runs I have to score in that particular situation or in that particular scenario. For example, last month I was talking to my boss and I was saying that we are very close to closing this large deal, and he asked me that, so how it is looking. So I told him very clearly, I said I am going to score, I have to score 11 balls, 27 runs, which means I need 1-6 or 1-4 at some point of time. So it gives an analogy to my whole situation. I know that if I can score a 6 or a 4 on one ball, then I would have left another 19 or 20 or 21 runs in 10 balls, which I can always score by being sticking not to lose my wicket and score singles or doubles or like that. So it gives me an analogy in my mind to depressurize myself in a particular pressure situation, and it really helps. So that basically is called that use an anchor or an analogy to your particular pressure situation. Then the next point, the 13th pressure solution is actually pressure yourself, which means that you are subjecting yourself to certain kind of baby pressure situation. So if you are putting your son or your daughter and telling him or her that you have to attempt these 20 questions in, let's say, 90 minutes, and he or she may say that no dad, because I get 2 hours to do the same exam in the school, you are probably giving me less time. But subjecting yourself to these small extra pressure situations will prepare yourself for the real scenario where you have the high pressure, because in the high pressure situation always you feel the time is less. So in such a way, if you can pressure yourself more, then you are able to perform at high level in the real pressure situations. So that was one thing which actually really helps me to understand that how do you subject yourself into different scenarios of the pressure situations. So the next 14th one we talk about is when you are in squeeze. Now what does that mean? It's a very important thing because it contains some of the more technical terms. So I'll use the reference here. It says that whenever we are in a pressure situation, it says that the explanation it is given here is that when we learn and practice a new skill, we rely on the left frontal lobe of the brain. Left frontal lobe of the brain you use, and as you practice the skill and becomes more automatic, the skill and the associated behavior pass over to your right hemisphere of the brain, so where the performance is automatically and unself-consciously controlled. So what it says is that it transfers from your left to the right side, it also transfers your voice, your tone, your mannerism, your speech, your body. So every information is actually transferred. So what happens is that when you come into pressure situations, probably your right brain, where your automatic execution of the things has to happen, doesn't function properly. So the example it gives is that it's a very tactical example that take a ball and start pressing in your left hand, and the results they have shown is that if you're right-hander and you're performing and you're writing an exam or doing whatever you want to do or playing a sports, if you take a ball and press on your left hand, then it creates and activates your right brain more powerfully, so where your automatic information to execute a task is stored, and that will help you to perform better in a pressure situation. Very important point. I have not used it that much, but yes, I was telling my son that probably if he feels in such a way, probably he can use it. But yes, I'm going to definitely use and try that. Another solution which we talk about is the write the pressure off. Now it's a very important solution, very interesting one as well. See, writing out your concerns about high pressure situations you are facing is very important. So it says worrying about what can go wrong diminishes processing power and your working memory capital, which says the working memory capacity. It says working memory capacity is shortened, and the WMC is housed in the prefrontal cortex. It allows you to keep in the mind information that is critical the task you are performing. So different psychologists have said that if you are concerned, you should write down what kind of pressure situation you are in. For example, I am making these videos. It is also one way of realizing that you may be in the pressure and you're talking about pressure, so which also releases the pressure a bit. And if you are working for your corporate programs, if you are working for your business, if you are working for your sports, in whatever profession you are, if you are able to write down the kind of pressure situations you might be anticipating on a daily basis, then over a period of time, the results shows that it actually minimizes your distractive thinking. An important thing which also I must mention is that expressing your concern in writing, or probably even in speaking to someone, especially more in the writing, it increases your insight into the sources of the pressure. It's a very important point, very interesting point. If you write about the pressure situations you may be in or you could be going in, if you write about it, it increases the sources of the information about the source of the pressure, and that's a very important key point. Then we talk about the next one, which is put away all self-consciousness. It's a very important point. It says that when we are doing any task, and if we are doing a task alone in our composed atmosphere where no one is watching us, we always perform probably better. But the moment we subject ourselves to some scrutiny or some observation, or if someone is watching us, or if we are even video recording few things, it would put a little bit of extra pressure on us. For example, I'm speaking now on this video camera. I can tell you I can talk about the same things without a video camera in front of probably 10 people, 20 people, or maybe alone more comfortably. But when I prepare for this video shoot, I feel that the recording should be going fine, and there should be no glitch, the voice should be clear, I should not be forgetting something. I keep on my right hand side my notes book, I keep the book on the left hand side, and I'm all ready that it is a video recording. People should get a nice experience to hear my voice. So it actually puts an additional pressure on myself as well, that the video which I'm recording should go perfectly fine. So this is like being very, very self-conscious. But how do you put your self-conscious away? It's just by practice. If you do this thing day and day again, day by day again, week by week again, then you are able to get away from this self-conscious situation. And that's why it says that if you are going to make a presentation, or if you're going to perform in front of multiple people, then you should start doing and practicing this thing in front of a video camera or your mirror, so that you put your self-consciousness away from whole of the task. So that is the 16 solutions we talked about so far. So we talked today carry a pressure tune. We talked about use an anchor or an analogy. We talked about pressure yourself. We talked about squeeze. It's a more of a tactical example which is given. Writing the pressure off and putting away your self-consciousness. So this contains we have reached to 16 solutions. In the next episode 11, we'll talk about the 17 to 22 solutions. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and see you again. Thank you very much. Hi, welcome back. My name is Mukesh Sharma and you are watching U Talks. We are talking about the 22 pressure management solutions for how to perform under the pressure. So last time we have talked about in episode number 10 the pressure management solutions from number 11 to 16, and today we are going to talk about the final segment of pressure management solution from number 17 to 22. So just let's imagine that what we have done in the last 3 episodes. So we talked in episode 8 about the befriending the moment, creating and understanding that each opportunity could be one of the multiple opportunities. We talked about downsizing the importance, focus on the mission, anticipate the unexpected. We also talked in the episode 9, recognizing that you are worthy, recalling you at your best, using your positive GPS system, and staying in the moment and being a control freak. The reason I'm talking and revising this, because these are very, very important. If you can memorize it, if you can use it in multiple situations, it will really, really make a lot of difference. And in last episode we talked about carrying a pressure tune. We talked about how do you create analogies in the real pressure situations to ease yourself down or calm yourself down, and also creating baby pressure situations to train yourself to perform in high pressure, using squeezing techniques, squeezing the left hand ball so that your right brain can start working properly and releasing that extra blood into that. Writing pressure off, an important way to understand the source of the incoming pressure very clearly, and putting away your all self-consciousness so that you can perform at your best. So these were the 16 pressure solutions we talked about in last 3 episodes, with 8 and 9 and 10. Today we are going to talk about the final segment, very important segment, which is meditate, have a pre-routine, speed kills, breathe naturally, your first advantage, and sharing pressure. So let's first of all understand what is meditate. I think most of the Indian people, they understand different techniques of meditation through yoga or through different philosophies they have been practicing. And also now meditation is not a new word, because even the whole Western world and whole world understand the meditation. But the most important thing which I learned while reading is that the researchers found that the meditation training altered for the better the white matter that connects the anterior cingulate cortex. Now that's a very complex word. Anterior cingulate cortex ACC to the other structures in the brain. In other words, after meditation training, your ACC is able to regulate your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. So this is something justified and probably tested in the research as well, and that it says that the meditation helps a lot. The other important thing it also talks about is that meditation should contain your 3 important things. One is relaxation, that how do you relax your body, your mind, your soul by different techniques. And you can go and refer to a lot of meditation videos in the YouTubes, and different yoga gurus and many gurus are actually teaching it. So one is relaxation. Second is mental imagery, which says that mentally imagining a set of things. So there's a different process to it, but yes, you can imagine yourself succeeding, or you're imagining your body from the head to the toe, increasing your concentration power, imagining you're in a very wide field where the water is falling. And there are many meditation videos, audios on the YouTube which helps you to be in the moment and bringing you more closer, and mental imagery becomes a very important part. The third thing it says is mindfulness. Now it's a whole topic in itself. We cannot probably expand into this much, but it says that the meditation they talk about contains relaxation, mental imagery, and mindfulness. Mindfulness, you can briefly describe that it is again staying in the moment, being aware of what you are doing, and staying focused on the task in the hand. So meditation overall increases the ACC, which they called the technical word anterior cingulate cortex, and it connects the white matter and it starts behaving better, so you can control your thoughts, emotions, and behavior much more carefully. Then the second is having a pre-routine. Now it's an important point. See, having a pre-routine means when you are going for a pressure situation in whatever form, you always follow a routine. Someone would be waking up at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, going for his exercises or running or whatever makes him feel better, taking a cup of tea, having a chat with your mom or dad, or maybe your wife, or maybe watching maybe one of the most important YouTube videos. If you're following some important channel, probably clicking that away and coming into a routine which you tell yourself that yes, you are now set to go for your day, and then you will behave, or you will take the action to the full. So I think those kind of things you have to prepare a pre-routine. So those pre-routines have to be quite compulsive and obsessive, so that you make sure that you excel in that situation. The book offers a very important insight that be careful that a pre-routine does not mean it is a ritual, because rituals are more hollow and they do not help you much. But a routine is a mindful way to get into your ideal psychological and physiological position to deliver your best effort on that day. And it also suggests a process as well, which says some guidelines that the routine should be relatively short. It should be 3 to 5 minutes. So you should not be probably spending too much time, but yes, it could be divided into small segments. And if something you have specifically created for yourself before you enter into a high pressure situation, like you are going for a board meeting with your CEO or with your shareholders, then how do you do something which will bring you into that routine? It should be done immediately prior to a high situation, if you can really extend to that. And it should include a mental component, like reviewing your key points, analyzing your some selection, or contemplating how you will perform there. It should also include your physical component as well, like breathing deeply and releasing and inhaling and exhaling. It should also deal with your kinesthetic imagery. I like this word a lot, kinesthetic imagery, like visualizing yourself performing at your best. So I think these three things: your mental component, your physical component, kinesthetic energy, to be visualized the most important way to be in a pre-routine of 3 to 5 minutes when you enter into a high physical energy situation. And then we talk about the next one, which is the speed kills. Yes, speed might thrills, but speed also kills. And here they talk about that when you are encountering a high pressure situation where your response is needed immediately. For example, if you see an email coming from your boss or from your peers or colleagues or maybe your customer, and it requires an immediate response, and probably that email has really hurt you, or probably any kind of explanation which is being required from you requires more of a thoughtful or more of a measured response, but you are getting urged to respond it too quickly, then slow down. And I recall one of my friend who taught me a few things which I understood very carefully in the area of art of living. He conducted a course for us, and he always used to say, slow down. So in those situations, you have to really slow down. And they say in the book, 24-hour rule. If you can probably control your response in those high pressure situations for 24 hours, knowing that not everything is urgent, not everything it requires is so compulsively urgent that you have to really respond it now. If you can do that and choose not to make a decision or your response immediately, then really it helps. So the next one which they talk about is your first advantage. Now this is an important one. sorry, I have missed. I have to talk about breathe naturally. So breathe naturally, which talks about is that it is also again related to one of the meditative areas. But regulating your breathing is important because, and they tell many practices, probably in our Indian philosophy we use yoga where you inhale for 4 seconds, you breathe, hold the breathe for 4 seconds, then exhale for 4 seconds, and then be completely breathless and empty with any breathe for another 4 seconds. So in 16 seconds you do this one round. So in a 60 second you are around three and a half rounds. So what it says practically is that it actually allows you to calm down, and they refer a word very peculiarly in this is called the ANS, and it says that it allows you to regain your feelings of control so that you can reduce your anxiety and overcome the sense that the situation is slipping away. So body functions such as heart rate, body temperature, breathing, blinking, digestions are all controlled by this ANS. So ANS is your automatic nervous system. So it says that regulating your breathing controls your automatic nervous system to respond properly and in a better way. So that's why breathing becomes a very important thing, and it is more of a daily exercise or daily routine you have to set in so that you do not lose control on your breathing when you found yourself in any kind of a high pressure situations. So let's come back again to the your first advantage. What it says is, so your first advantage means that it's saying like go first. And why it go first? He says that whenever you go into a competitive situation, you always say that if there are 10 competitors standing, and if someone asks, hey, go, who is the first person who want to go and try his luck or try his action the first, you should always raise your hand to go first, because it says that if you are going first, then it puts the pressure on the other people rather than you. And it takes a very good example that if you are taking a best of 10 foul shooting contest with your kids, for example, if you go first and make the shot, your son has to make his shot just to tie. If you miss your first shot, your son still has to make his shot to go ahead. He's thinking, and I have got to make this. The condition of going second intensifies the pressure. So that's why whenever we have these pressure situations or even in knockout matches, they always say win the toss and bat first. Go first. Going first always puts the other team into the maximum intensifying pressure rather than you. But they also put a caveat that this technique can only be applied if you are trying this on tried and tested actions. If you are trying to do something novel, it's sometimes better to wait and see what others are doing and then frame your response. So it's a balance you have to do, but in most of the situations, if you get a chance, go first. Yes, so now we have to do the last and 22nd pressure solution, which I found it very important, which generally we do not do so often, is sharing pressure. Now, what does sharing pressure mean? Sharing pressure means that you share pressure. Yes, so it is so as simple. You share pressure to your colleagues, you share pressure with your peers, you share pressure with your boss, you share pressure with your family, your wife, maybe, if your kids are grown up, you probably even share with them. It's all about saying that you are not alone responsible for everything which needs to happen. It's about telling them that you are also equal stakeholders. And I have some of the personal examples where when you are into some business situations, you have to talk to your team, you have to talk to your boss and say that this is the situation we are in, this is the multiple steps which we are going to take, and you distribute the pressure equally on all of them so that you're not choking. You might not win every deal, you might not come out successfully as flying color from everything, but at least you don't choke. So to avoid choking, which we discussed in the previous episodes, you have to share the pressure, and sharing pressure also eases you down, it calms you down. Even the expression of that I am under pressure is also important, because it also cools and eases you down. The most important line which I learned in this concept was, there is no shame in feeling pressure, but if you don't share your pressure, there is a good chance the pressure will shame you. So I think this sums a very important thing, that these 22 pressure techniques which we talked about are very important. If you can really watch this episode 11, 10, 9 and 8 carefully, and can follow these 22 techniques and use these techniques in your personal life, I'm pretty sure it is going to really help. I know that it is not easy whenever some pressure situation comes. Whatever your top 5 solution comes to your mind, you should try to exercise. You might carry a pressure tune, which I use generally. You might breathe naturally. and you might visualize recalling at your best, also downsizing the importance of something, that it's not only the opportunity you have, it is only one of those multiple opportunities, befriending the moment. So I think there are multiple things in these 22 pressure solutions which you will find very effective. And if you can map your brain mentally, if you even can memorize all these 22 solutions, I'm pretty sure that it is going to help you. So I hope you enjoyed this whole episode on 11 episodes on how to perform under pressure, in which we talked in first 7 episodes the difference between stress and pressure, and a lot of technical items we talked about. And in the last 4 episodes we talked about the 22 pressure management solutions. But the point now we have to see is that these all are proximate solutions, which are like short-term solutions which can help you to manage the situation. But now the part 3 of this whole book is how do you really come out as a winner in a long term, and it talks about 4 important elements which we are going to cover in our next couple of episodes. Is called the COTE. It's called COTE, which we will explain in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching, and do subscribe U Talks on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever you're watching. Thank you so much for giving your time. Hi, good morning, everyone. This is U Talks, myself, Mukesh Sharma, and we have a very special guest today, Mr. Ivy Rao. And he doesn't need any introduction, but for the viewers who are actually seeing him today first time, I like to introduce him with a slide so that we don't miss anything about him. So here is the slide which I want to talk about. Mr. Ivy Rao is an IIT Kanpur postgraduate from 1976 and who led the R&D team as a senior managing executive officer in engineering till 2012 and continued as an executive advisor from 2012 to 2019, as good as last year. Now he's currently a visiting senior fellow in Center for Sustainable Mobility of TERI, a renowned think tank based in New Delhi. In his last 4 decades of career at Maruti Suzuki, Mr. Rao has made a significant contribution in different roles and positions in product development, manufacturing, engineering functions. Under his leadership, Maruti R&D has grown from strength to strength. Those people who are from India, they know him very well already, and has developed capability for new model developments, alternate fuel product development, and new technology development. His most significant contribution was the launch of new Alto and Alto K10, designed and developed by Maruti engineers in India. He served as a director for Maruti Center of Excellence. He also worked as a director on the board of Maruti's joint ventures in Bharat Seats, also Machino Polymers. With his vast experience of technology development and understanding of Indian context, Mr. Rao played an active role in the formulation of several automotive regulations in India over the last 4 decades. He held key positions as Executive Council member in SIAM, the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, for over a decade. He is an ardent supporter and believes in nurturing young generation. I'm one of those who was interviewed by him 22 years ago, and I'm sitting in front of him. He takes active interest in student activities and is a very active member of SAE India. He's presently VP and chairman for Automotive Board of SAE India. He's also leading the SAE India Foundation activities as president. We can easily say he has an immense contribution in the development of Indian automobile industry. So thank you very much, sir, for sharing your time today. I have been doing the U Talks podcast. U Talks means technology, arts, life, knowledge, and sports. And some of the audience were suggesting that we were talking about how to perform under pressure. And they said that why we should not get an industry veteran. And the first name which comes to my mind is Mr. Ivy Rao. So here we are today with you, sir. And we thought we should have this interaction, which will be very beneficial for our audience. So first of all, how things are going on in Delhi, Gurgaon? We all are struggling through the COVID. I hope everything is fine at your end.
Yeah, we are fine, but the situation is not very encouraging. Still, the increase in number of cases. So we are still housebound, and there are a lot of restrictions in terms of movement and physical distancing, etc. So, but the activities have started, and I mean, like Maruti has started, and they are now gearing up to make catch up the production. But there are a lot of restrictions in terms of the distancing. As a result, the lot of facilities needs to be reconfigured to, I mean, cater for those requirements. And also, a lot of offices have declared that they would work from home till next April. Like all these software companies and all these consultancies, etc., have given flexibility to the work. I mean, the members to work from home.
Right,
So that's
right,
how
right.
things are happening now, right now.
Right, right, right. So if you can be a little bit behind, then your whole image will come. And I'm sure that some of our old Maruti people can see you are a little bit growing white beard as well.
It was always like that, I thought, Mukesh.
Yes, sir. So I think, just going into the interaction, I think you rightly said that a lot of reconfiguration is going to happen, which is also happening. And this COVID has thrown us into a different pressure situation as well. And I have been doing a series on how to perform under pressure in normal times, but now the times are different. So my first question to you, and you have a 4 decades plus of experience, that every human being evolves through his or her career and life and manages to handle perform under pressure. Do you recall those moments when you went through such pressure moments, probably now or even in the past, and all spanning your whole career, which could be a great example for us to learn how did you manage that?
Yeah, of course, yes, Mukesh. Like in life, we go through different moments, some pleasant, some unpleasant. Sometimes we are very tense, and many times we are cool. And these variations are results of external forces most of the
Right,
time, and sometimes self-made also. And the question is, when we are in a tense moment, why are we under pressure?
right,
So generally, one feels pressure for various reasons. One of the important things is when the expectations are high and we are not very sure about the same, or some activities which are scheduled to be completed, which are timelines are impractical, or sometimes we get into pressure because of somebody else's mistakes. So these are various situations under which we perceive to be under pressure. In my life and career of 45 years, I did face a lot of tense moments and some personal and many times of shell. Uh, to start with, I want to just mention one of the important tense moments I had was when I was attending the interview for Maruti Udyog Limited. Uh, I was very tense, a lot of anxiety about how I would do in the interview, which made me nervous. Though automobile engineering was my favorite subject, and also I did prepare well, in spite of all that, I did not perform well in the interview. That's when I realized getting tense or creating pressure does not help the purpose. And subsequently in Maruti, I had many tense moments, creating a lot of pressure to perform in my 36 years in Maruti. But I can give a long list of such incidents. But what I can never forget is the time when Japan had severe earthquake and tsunami in northeast Japan on 11th of March 2011. You will not believe that we returned to India from Japan on 11th evening here. So we left Japan at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and this happened sometime during the evening. So we very narrowly escaped the tsunami there. Anyhow, that we were not aware till we landed here. So that was not the issue. And that time we had a lot of our engineers in Japan undergoing training, like you also did, and working on various projects with Suzuki Japan. And tsunami devastated many northeastern parts of Japan,
right,
and the situation worsened due to Fukushima nuclear reactor burst. This actually rattled all the family members of our engineers who are in Japan.
right,
They all requested that engineers should be called back to Maruti, and it was getting tougher day by day to talk to the worried parents in India on one side,
right,
the frightened engineers on the other side. and also trying to understand the Japanese perspective on this.
Right.
However, due to the pressure from the parents and also the engineers, and considering the serious situation what was emerging, Maruti top management discussed and decided to request Suzuki Japan to send back the engineers. So we thought we have done what we are supposed to do, but the problem started. The next day there was a call from to our MD from Suzuki Japan, asking us to reach Japan immediately. And the same evening we took a flight and reached Japan in the morning,
Mhm.
and traveled to Hamamatsu and got into head office directly. And when we reached the Suzuki head office, the top management of Suzuki was already in a meeting, and they had a detailed discussion about the situation arising out of the tsunami disaster and the repercussions of the radioactivity leak, etc. And Suzuki management explained the adverse impact our calling back our engineers suddenly due to tsunami disaster would have.
Right.
They made us also realize our decision taken from Indian engineers' perspective was not the correct one, considering the overall situation we were, and we were also explained. I mean, it's very subtly that some decisions have to be need to be taken by brain and not by heart.
Absolutely.
I had real testing time for a couple of weeks during that time. However, if I look back, it turned out to be a great learning experience. The cultural differences in India and Japanese way of analyzing an issue, considering the overall situation, the organizations involved, the people, and also the two nations.
Sir, I would.
And the next 2 days, we were made to interact with all the engineers who were there in Japan and convince them that this is not the time for them to return back to India, and how all the concerns they had would be addressed for safety of everyone.
So you mentioned a very important point that generally our expectations, our unsurety leads to the pressure. But you brought a very important point that, which probably I did not consider asking, is that how two different cultures respond to the pressure.
Yeah, this is where the decision what we had taken in Maruti. I mean, all top management was involved, including our MD. Somehow didn't match with the thinking of Japan, Suzuki Japan. I mean, I think there the way we analyze the situation, the way Japanese analyze the situation were different. They were talking about the bigger issue, and we were talking mainly concerned about Maruti engineers stay in Japan
Mhm.
because of the pressure from the parents and also the continuous complaints or concerns being expressed by our engineers in Japan. So that's what I'm saying. So in decision making, when we are taking a decision, we always feel we are doing the right thing.
Right.
But unless you also know other side of the stakeholder, I mean, maybe I can use the word stakeholder. Here it's a different nation, so that brings in a lot of difference. The way we analyze, the way we decide, and the way Japanese do things.
But if you look at, you would have nurtured almost 1,000 plus leaders. I am also one of those who worked under your leadership for almost 10 years. How do people per se behave differently in pressures when they are subjected to? And what kind of traits, as a super leader, you have seen when you have subjected other people to pressure, and what are those probably not specific instances, but any of those observations you might like to share, how people respond to pressures differently?
So you actually look at the human behavior. I think to get tense under pressure in office or at home is a human behavior. I mean, to
Right.
start with, it's not uniform across everybody, and some react in a particular fashion. Somebody else would be very different in his response to the same situation. It also depends to some extent how the people are involved in what they are doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, the many, bosses link getting tense or getting worried to the level of involvement with work, which I feel is not, really correct. It's not
Right.
necessary that you have to appear to be tense or worried to be committed. Okay. Uh, I mean, as I said, it's also partly nature. So some people always appear very cool, but do what is required to be done.
Right.
So to that extent, it is also a human behavior. Some people get tense very, very fast, which we feel there is no reason to get tense. But I mean, it's a characteristic. And also, I personally believe uh, nothing is achieved really by getting tense or making whole team tense.
Right. Right.
I think I strongly believe as a team lead, one has to maintain composure and give comfort to the team to deliver. And but many think that if the team is pressurized, the output would be better. I feel other way, and I very strongly believe that a free mind delivers the best.
Mm-hmm.
And in my career, I always tried my best to isolate my team from the pressure fluctuations from the top.
Right.
I am not saying that the team should not be under any challenge to deliver. I can give you an example. In 1999, I think you have not joined Murthy that time.
Right.
April, Supreme Court suddenly advanced the implementation of Bharat Stage 1 emission norms,
Right.
which was supposed to be implemented in
Right.
April 2000 to June 1999 for Delhi.
Right.
And we were actually working on introducing fuel injection system for our engines to meet the BS1 emission norms. Now we were in a very difficult situation. So our engine group, thankfully, we had a emission test lab with us. They did a lot of analysis of the data, what they had about the results of vehicles which were being made with carburetor, and quickly configured some system with carburetors to meet the BS1 emission norm. And they
Right.
literally worked 24 hours a day for a week or so to really do all possible tests and all possible combination to make sure that the configuration would always comply with the emission regulation requirements.
Right.
That's how we could quickly have Maruti 800 Zen and ST complying with the BS1 emission regulations for Delhi. Otherwise, Maruti would have had no wouldn't have sold these vehicles for that period till April 2000 when fuel injection system was introduced.
Right. Right.
So what I'm trying to say is it's important to make the team members realize themselves the gravity of the situation and
Right.
they will automatically align themselves to meet the targets. So
Right.
I think that is the best way of getting best out of anybody.
Right. Absolutely. I think you rightly said that the sense of responsibility and ownership, when that goes up in the pressure moments, then you are better equipped to take on the pressure. But you would have seen some of the colleagues who would have probably succumbed to the pressure. I would not be probably appropriately handling it. How did you probably comfort them, or how did you, if you have any kind of that experience handling it?
Uh, as I said, some people get tense very fast, and as a result, actually, they uh, jumble up or become erratic.
Hmm.
I did have some bosses who made me tense when they were under slightly tight spots or difficult situations.
Right.
So, what I am trying to say is getting tense in itself does not solve the problem. We have to
Right.
actually identify what needs to be done, and what is more important is to how to do that.
Right. So, sir, my next question is that now, because of this work from home, COVID, it is probably putting a different kind of a stress and pressure onto the people because people are not meeting each other that much. Our
Yeah,
indoor to outdoor ratio is
yeah,
also skewed now. So, different kind
yeah.
of challenges might emerge. So, what do you feel that how leaders should give that comfort virtually without a physical contact and not ability to meet so much?
Yeah, actually, the lockdown during COVID, as actually initial days, we were, I mean, at least I was very upset that I will not be able to go out at all and have to work from home all the times. I mean, seated. I somehow, I mean, don't like to sit at a place continuously. Uh, but within a week or so, we got used to the new routine,
Mhm.
and I mean, there thankfully there were a lot of webinars which were being organized by different agencies, technical, non-technical, etc. And I started joining most of these webinars.
Mm.
Some days I did join 2 to 3 webinars a day. So
Okay.
that had given me a lot of, I mean, I was occupied otherwise learning new things. But because we are deprived of physical movement, I think one thing what is important is to make uh, our body flexible. So yoga is one thing which uh, would help in keeping our body flexible. So we very consciously decided to not miss yoga in the morning every day. I
Right.
think that helps a lot.
Hmm.
And then the lockdown during COVID has actually made us think a
Mm.
lot of new things which we never thought would be possible.
Right.
I mean, like almost all organizations which had working from home during the lockdown have realized that a lot of activities can be done sitting at home.
Right.
So many people need not come to so-called office to do what they are doing. Of course, there are some activities which cannot be done remotely digitally. So
Right.
there the physical presence would be required, like manufacturing or actual physical testing, etc. But other activities like actual CAD design or simulation, blah blah blah, all those can be done any place as long as you have basic computer and the software systems what are required.
Right. Right.
And also because of no economic activity and very less movement of people, Delhi could see blue skies after a very long time. I
There
think
are
this
some
was
positives.
a great relief everybody felt. And also we could hear all the birds coming back to the housing colony parks. I mean,
Right.
morning the birds' chirpy noise was a pleasure to wake up.
Right.
And the point is now the government is trying to relax the restrictions, and we are trying to get back to normal activities.
Right.
But I personally feel this is the time when we should analyze and decide how differently we can do things more efficiently. And the basic target should be to optimize or minimize the so-called movement of people and material,
Right.
which would help a lot in actually improving the air we breathe. And also, we should encourage or create facilities for non-motorized movement of people. I think that's
Right.
also very
Right.
important. It has been ignored in India for a long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So for, I mean, whoever, I mean, I am sure if I am getting used to working from home without so-called physical movement, I am sure youngsters would have switched over to this much easier, much easily, because they like logging on to computer and working on computers much more than my generation.
Absolutely. So, sir, my last question is that, of course, there are positives and negatives of working under the pressure. And as an individual, if someone is 20 in his 20s or in 40s or 50s or 60s, what is your advice across this segment to live a peaceful and a successful life? With top three advices from, nichod of your, you will say in Hindi,
Oh my God.
nichod of your experience, the top three things which you feel from your illustrious career, which we can learn, the audience can learn.
I wouldn't like to call it advice or anything, but I will share what I feel would help people to do better. First and foremost thing is health. I
Right,
mean, the good health is a basic requirement, and in normal circumstances, we take health for granted and tend to ignore health.
right,
And we realize the importance of health with a very any small problem we face. Even a
right.
small headache would upset us so much.
Hmm.
So it is important to do continuous, pay continuous attention to our body.
Right.
Maybe doing yoga and physical exercise will go a long way to keep the body toned. And I think this will make even the brain very alert, and a fit body is good for good brain.
Understood. Right.
And the one suggestion or request I have for youngsters is to develop urge to learn more and try new things and not to worried about failure.
Absolutely.
Analyzing failure is, I think, sure way of actually learning,
Right.
and and also I mean, in my tenure in Maruti and what I hear from other organizations, also somehow the youngsters are very not not very free to ask or probe deep into any issue. They are
Right.
scared of raising issues. I
Right.
think it's better to speak out than to bottle up the thoughts. I
Hmm.
think if you are able to talk out and then maybe you get some response from somebody which would address what you feel as a problem. I
Right.
think this is very important. Unless you question, you don't get the reply, and unless you get reply, your doubt will not be clarified. So this is a cycle, and the best way of learning is to ask question. I don't think there's any other way of doing things.
Absolutely.
Uh, the other thing is once we realize that getting tense or uh, or getting under pressure does not really solve the address the problem.
Right. Right.
Once we realize this, we will not get pressurized easily,
Hmm.
and we should try to be normal even in abnormal situations. I think that is the
Hmm.
I mean, that's how we should tune ourselves.
Right. Right.
Ultimately, what is important is to find a solution and
Right.
work for it.
Right.
Uh, I mean, sum it up, there is no point worrying about the spoiled milk, which is the
Right.
past,
Hmm.
or get anxious about the unknown tomorrow and
Right.
spoil what we have today.
Absolutely.
I think so. I mean, I'm not saying that we should not worry about what we are doing, what situation we are in, but worrying alone will not help, and worrying to an extent which impacts our own behavior or our thought process is not good for anything. Not good for the self, nor in addressing the problem.
Right. Right. I think, Rao Saab, thank you very much. I think maybe just to summarize, I think health comes as the most important thing because that allows you to evade and wade through all the circumstances and accepting failures. And then the urge to learn, which actually removes a lot of blind spots. And
Yes.
coming to the pressure alone is not the solution, are the key
Yeah.
takeaways.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the audience who is going to see today, and some of them maybe from Maruti as well, they will go back to those old times when all those things happened. You shared some great stories. Of course, there's some tough ones of the earthquake, some interesting one of the BS4 regulations, and many other things. And then I think your advice, and you have seen your 4 decades of illustrious career, where you have gone and worked with the who's and who of the Indian automobile industry. I'm pretty sure that people will love this more. And as I'm working more into this subject, probably once I have more insights, probably will again invite you for another talk on
Oh,
some on deeper
sure,
subject into
certainly.
this.
My pleasure.
Right.
Anytime for anything for, I mean, youngsters.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. And I would probably, stop the interview here. And thank you so much again for
Thank you.
coming
Thank
on
you
this
very much.
show. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
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 Welcome to U Talks, and my name is Mukesh Sharma. You are watching the episode number 13 of How to Perform Under Pressure. In the last episode number 12, we had Mr. I.V. Rao, the retired senior managing executive officer of Maruti Suzuki, talking about his experiences and how he managed the pressure. And in last 12 episodes, we have discussed in length a lot of ideas how to manage pressure, how to perform under pressure. And some of you have been writing to me offline on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, on WeChat, and I'm very happy to see that you are using some of those pressure techniques like carrying a pressure tune or befriending the moment or downsizing the importance, even meditation. In fact, that is something also very important. And staying fit is also another part of managing your body dynamics to be performing well under the pressure. But apart from all those key 22 pressure solutions we talked about, now today we are going to talk about something very important, which is like more ingrained, that you have to create something which is more inherent, something which you should not be relying on just those 22 pressure management techniques, something which comes very naturally to you. So what are those? And this is the most important segment, is the coat of armor, which means C, confidence, O, optimism, T, tenacity, and enthusiasm. So today we are going to talk about confidence. And when we talk about confidence, confidence is important because this defines the base of how we perform under the pressure. So if you look at the way we are going to dissect confidence, is one that confidence is degree to which you believe you can influence an outcome. Now just let's talk about that. The degree to which you believe you can influence an outcome shows that how you are feeling, what is your sureness of the feeling, a feeling of sureness about something. Let's take an example. If I go to management, or I go to any situation, or I'm performing somewhere that I need investment of $10 million to do something, and if I'm not confident, if I'm not showing my clarity of thought, if I'm not showing my energy, if I'm not showing the structure I'm able to see in the chaos, then the people who are going to bet on me, they will feel less confident. So inherently, the reflection I'm going to give about my work or the way I'm feeling is going to also get rubbed off onto the other people who are going to make a decision on it. So therefore, it says that the degree to which you can believe, you can influence an outcome matters the most. And we also talked about that it is the sureness of that feeling inside which you have to cultivate over a period of time, which helps you to feel more confident. The next thing which we talk is the self-confidence is also very malleable, which means it can be strengthened over a period of time and it can be also weakened over a period of time. And that completely depends upon the kind of events you're experiencing in your life. If you're facing more success, of course, your confidence will probably go up. And if you're facing a lot of failures, then probably it will even go down. So it's a lot of malleability in this self-confidence as a concept. And the next important thing which probably we should also talk is that self-confidence is not self-esteem. However, self-esteem, if you have a higher self-esteem, you're bound to do probably better in few areas, but that does not mean that your confidence will be high anyway, because some of the students in their early careers or early schooling days, they might have a high self-esteem, but if they don't work hard, if they don't get better grades, their confidence still goes down. So it is a little bit of a paradox that you might carry self-esteem, high self-esteem, but but it may not correlate back to complete self-confidence. It's a little bit of a concept which we need to keep in mind. The next thing is that in corporate, employees and employers are working very hard to increase their productivity. And it says that if you have satisfied employees, then you can have a higher productivity. But I feel that if I'm productive on a day, when I work 14 hours or 16 hours a day, and when I sleep on the night, I feel more satisfied. So it is actually a reverse process which leads to satisfaction. So being productive of your own, monitoring your own self productivity on a daily basis and feeling satisfied out of it actually relates more to bringing more confidence. So carrying those confidence things and building that confidence will probably be more seen as an antidote to pressure, and that's what our next segment talks about, is that confidence acts as an antidote to the pressure. And what essentially happens is that if we are approaching a situation where we feel that we have to perform and you're feeling the pressure, which also is an early sign that it is now time to perform. So for example, if you are working for a big project and you have a submission of the project after, let's say, 2 months, and you have the mental clock been framed that you have 60 days to go, 58 days to go, 55 days to go. So somewhere that pressure and the urgency starts building up, and that shows that you have, it is an early sign to time to perform, and that is very important to recognize. Now sometimes what happens is that we might face circumstances which might derail us, or which can bring a big jolt or big blast to our plans. Then what happens is that you have to slow things down. In those circumstances, you have to back yourself, because mostly events are events. It is what defines how we handle them by a response. So if you are in a very critical situation, and the way the book talks about, and the way I have learned from the other people, is actually you have to slow down the response. You have to give a little bit of a time of your own reaction, and if even the other people who are going to react on it. Of course, it's totally different than pressure situations in war, or probably pressure situations in high critical sports situations. But yes, sometimes it works. For example, if you're playing a cricket match, in that case, if you have gone for 4 fours continuously, then the captain slows down the thing. He will try to slow down the things by changing the field, or probably talking to the bowler, and a little bit trying to do a tactical changes. So it actually slowing down the things really helps instead of accelerating it, because confidence in action talks about it. The next point is that building confidence. Now people talk that while it is good to talk about confidence, and we know that if we are confident we'll do better in a pressure moment, but how do you build the confidence? There are different things you do, but posture changes your brain massively, and your high power and expensive poses. Some people, you would see that they're very timid. They will talk like this. Their body language will be so timid, and they will not be expressing themselves in a more solid fashion, or probably not be very, very confident in coming across in their communication. So even the communication is linked to the confidence part. So it says that if you have a high power and a high expensive poses of the posture, it actually builds your confidence, and you have to do it on a regular basis, the way you interact. That doesn't mean that you have to be very aggressive on people around you, or you have to bulldoze them, but it's all about the way you're expressing yourself. So it is like a very step-by-step, slow, day-by-day process of building the confidence. Then we talk about the winner effect. How big or small or virtual, the next chances of your winning goes up if you are having those micro successes. And the important thing the book talks about is that neuroplasticity. Somewhere the micro successes changes the brain arrangement, and the brain rearranges itself in providing you inherent confidence, which allows you to perform better in the pressure situations. So we talked about few things. So we talked about the brain neuroplasticity, we talked about the expensive pose, we talked about confidence, we talked about the sureness of feeling, the feeling of sureness. We talked about how important is the impact of confidence, which you should carry and build and develop over a period of time in order to perform under pressure the best. Going to the next part, if we see, there are certain habits. Now we talked about the concept, but let's say, what are the confidence habits? One is that you have to be at your physical best. Now that could be doing a yoga, doing your gym regime, running, breathing, or staying fit, because it actually gives you a mental great feeling that you are at your best. Because during the performance pressure moments or pressure moments, feeling good about yourself is very important. And if confidence is one element which allows you to feel good, then the confidence also comes by being physically fit. Second is take responsibility of your actions. Now, this is a very key point, that taking responsibility of your actions is very important, because when you start taking responsibility of your actions, you are seeing the challenge, you are seeing the opportunity, you are seeing the problem in the eye. And somewhere you can only take responsibility of your actions if you are confident. I can take your situation. If you're talking to your management or you're talking to your customer, if something goes wrong, and if you go ahead and say, yes, it was my responsibility, I'm responsible for this, believe me, it will help you to feel more confident and perform better in that pressure situation. Now, the next thing is that finding unorthodox ways to practice. Now, which I think this we talked about is one of the pressure techniques as well, that anticipate the unexpected, and squeeze and writing pressure off. So try to subject yourself continuously into regimes which will put you under pressure. And the next important thing is seek criticism. This is something which we avoid. As a human being, we are hardwired to listen to praises, recognition, acceptance. We are not, hardwired to listen to criticism. And therefore, inviting criticism or listening to criticism, asking critical feedback about your own self to your customers, to your seniors, to your colleagues, peers. That's why these 360-degree feedback mechanisms comes into the human resource management, that seeking criticism is an important factor to build your confidence. But there is also a caveat that you have to also challenge the accuracy of your thoughts. It should not become that if you're seeking criticism, you should not start, self-blaming yourself too much and going into that loop. So that's the most important thing that we have talked about, that there are certain confidence habits you have to build on and you have to work on consistently. So my key takeaways, which I take from the confidence part, is that yes, you should have an expensive pose. Your posture which should deliver the confidence. Second is take responsibility of your actions consistently. Definitely seek criticism about analyzing these situations, taking the feedbacks, who are the people who are working along with you, and also making sure that you create those micro successes in a stepwise manner, because it increases and the neuroplasticity factor rearranges your brain accordingly. So I think that is the most important thing which I learned. Probably you would have enjoyed watching this. If you have any doubts or questions, do drop the message in the LinkedIn box or Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching this, and give me your feedback, and I will be able to cover some of the other points into my next episode. So till then, thank you so much, and bye-bye. नमस्कार दोस्तों, यू टॉक्स में आपका स्वागत है। मेरा नाम है मुकेश शर्मा और आप देख रहे हैं यू टॉक्स। देखिए, मैं यू टॉक्स ये इंग्लिश में कर रहा हूँ। यू टॉक्स का मतलब है टी का मतलब टेक्नोलॉजी, ए का मतलब आर्ट्स, एल लाइफ, के नॉलेज और एस स्पोर्ट्स। और मैं एक हाउ टू परफॉर्म अंडर प्रेशर का एक एपिसोड कर रहा हूँ, जिसमें अभी तक मैं 13 एपिसोड्स कर चुका हूँ। और मेरे ब्रदर ने मुझसे कहा, और मेरे ब्रदर के कुछ फ्रेंड्स ने कहा, और कुछ और दोस्तों ने कहा जो इंडिया में रहते हैं, कि इसका आपको एक जिस्ट हिंदी में भी करना चाहिए, क्योंकि हिंदी हमारी मातृभाषा है। और मैं समझता हूं कि जिस तरीके से इस समय भारत में हालात चल रहे हैं कोविड के दौरान, काफ़ी लोग परेशान हैं अपने अपने बिजनेस को लेकर और अपनी अपनी समस्याओं को लेकर। तो मुझे लगा कि जो मैं एपिसोड इंग्लिश में कर रहा हूं प्रोफेशनल्स के लिए, क्यों ना मुझे उसका एक जिस्ट ज़रूर एक हिंदी में करना चाहिए। तो लीजिए, मैं बात करना चाहूँगा हाउ टू परफॉर्म अंडर प्रेशर, यानी दबाव में कैसे काम करें। और ये एक स्पेशल हिंदी का प्रसारण सभी मेरे दोस्तों के लिए जो हिंदी समझते हैं और हिंदी में बातें करना चाहते हैं, और बहुत सारी जो जनसंख्या भारत की हिंदी बोलती है। तो देखिए, ऐसा है कि दबाव तो जीवन का एक बहुत बड़ा अभिन्न अंग है, उसके बगैर हम जिंदगी में चल भी नहीं सकते, और दबाव होना भी ज़रूरी है। कुछ लोगों ने मुझसे ये भी कहा कि वो दबाव में अच्छा महसूस करते हैं, अच्छा परफॉर्म करते हैं। जी हाँ, बिल्कुल, दबाव में ऐसा नहीं कि आपकी परफॉर्मेंस डाउन हो जाती है। कुछ लोग दबाव में अच्छा करते हैं, जैसे कि हमारी क्रिकेट टीम, कई बार दबाव में कुछ ऐसे प्लेयर्स हैं जो अच्छा करते हैं। विराट कोहली, अगर उनको दबाव दिया जाए तो वो अच्छा परफॉर्म करते हैं। लेकिन दबाव में अच्छा परफॉर्म करना सोल्यूशन नहीं है। दबाव में अच्छा परफॉर्म करना एक रिजल्ट है। उस सोल्यूशन तक कैसे पहुंचें कि आप दबाव में अच्छा कर पाएं। इसलिए जिस किताब को लेकर मैं बातचीत कर रहा था, हाउ टू परफॉर्म अंडर प्रेशर, जिसमें बहुत बड़ी रिसर्च के साथ काफ़ी बातें की गई हैं, तो उन्हीं को मैंने आगे रखा। और एक और बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ जो हमने बात करते हुए समझी वो ये है कि एक होता है स्ट्रेस, एक होता है प्रेशर। देखिए स्ट्रेस और प्रेशर में फ़र्क हमने देखा। फ़र्क क्या है? प्रेशर है दबाव आपको परफॉर्म करने का, तो प्रेशर में आपका मेन मुद्दा रहता है कि आपको परफॉर्म कैसे करना है, मेन मुद्दा है आपको कामयाबी की तरफ कैसे देखना है। तो प्रेशर में मुद्दा है कामयाबी और स्ट्रेस में है उसको कम करना। तो ये बड़ा एक बैलेंस है जो ध्यान रखना ज़रूरी है कि जैसे ही आपको स्ट्रेस हो आपको उससे हटना है। उस स्ट्रेस से हटने के बड़े तरीके हो सकते हैं। आप गाना गा सकते हैं, आप अपने किसी फ्रेंड से बात कर सकते हैं, अपने माँ बाप से बात कर सकते हैं, और प्रेशर में परफॉर्म करना ही है। प्रेशर में आपकी परफॉर्मेंस की सक्सेस को बढ़ाना ही आपका उद्देश्य है। तो दोनों जो कंडीशंस हैं, जो सिचुएशंस हैं, उसमें उद्देश्य दोनों का अलग अलग है। स्ट्रेस को कम करना है और परफॉर्मेंस में सक्सेस के पैरामीटर को यानी चांस को बढ़ाना है। लेकिन वो होता कैसे है, उसके लिए हमने कुछ 22 सॉल्यूशन टेक्निक्स की बात की थी। और वो 22 टेक्निक्स देखिए यहाँ पर मैंने एपिसोड 8, 9, 10, 11 में बात की थी, जब मैंने इंग्लिश के एपिसोड में बात किया था। तो एक तो ये है कि आप जिस सिचुएशन में है उसको आप उस सिचुएशन को अपना दोस्त मानना है। आपको ऐसा मानना है कि भाई जो भी सिचुएशन आपके सामने है ये सिचुएशन है और मैं खुश हूँ सिचुएशन के सामने और मुझे उससे ज़्यादा कोई परेशानी है नहीं। तो आपको वो उस मोमेंट को एक दोस्त मानना है। दूसरा एक चीज़ बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आपको जो भी सिचुएशन दी गई है उसमें आप ये ना सोचें कि ये आपकी जीवन की आखिरी अपॉर्चुनिटी है। आपको ये समझना पड़ेगा कि और अपॉर्चुनिटीज भी आएंगी। ये एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है, एक मैच है। अगर हार भी गए तो अगला मैच फिर से होगा। हो सकता है वो मैच आपकी जिंदगी का सबसे महत्वपूर्ण मैच हो, लेकिन आपको सोचना यही पड़ेगा कि आपको दूसरा मौका मिलेगा, क्योंकि इससे आपका स्ट्रेस कम होता है और आपको प्रेशर में परफॉर्म करने का चांस मिल जाता है, बढ़ जाता है। तीसरी चीज हमने बात की थी डाउन साइज द इंपॉर्टेंस, यानी वही बात कि बहुत ज्यादा महत्व ना दें किसी भी दबाव की स्थिति को। इतना ज्यादा महत्व दे दें कि हम उसमें चोक हो जाएं या परेशान हो जाएं और परफॉर्म भी ना कर पाएं, तो वो काफी समस्या खड़ी कर सकता है। बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट दो बातें और कि जो आपका मिशन है, जिसके आप लगे हुए हैं, चाहे आपको पैसा कमाना है, चाहे अपने बिजनेस में है, चाहे आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन है, चाहे आपको कोई प्रोग्राम जीतना है, या आपको कोई आप किसी कस्टमर के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, उस मिशन पे आप बिल्कुल फोकस रखें। डिस्ट्रैक्ट ना हो कि आप कुछ और सोचने लगे। उस मिशन के ऊपर राइट डाउन करके रोज कि आपका क्या क्या एक्शन है, आर बाय आर, वीक बाय वीक, डे बाय डे, वो आप जरूर फोकस करते रहें। उससे भी आपका प्रेशर कम होता है, बढ़ता नहीं है। तो फोकस ऑन द मिशन, यानी अपने उद्देश्य की तरफ पूरे तरीके से संलग्न रहना बड़ा जरूरी है। और एंटिसिपेट द अनएक्सपेक्टेड, मैंने ये हिंदी में नहीं लिखा क्योंकि मैं अंग्रेजी में इसको करना चाहता था। तो एंटिसिपेट द अनएक्सपेक्टेड का मतलब है कि देखिए काम अपना पूरा कीजिए, लेकिन आप यही सोचिए कि कुछ भी खराब हो सकता है और वर्स्ट से वर्स्ट क्या हो सकता है, कम से खराब क्या हो सकता है। बहुत से लोग आजकल कोविड में ही सोच रहे हैं, वो बिजनेस नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, काम नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। लेकिन देखिए उस केसेस में आप यही सोचिए क्या होगा, क्या वर्स्ट हो सकता है। अगर उसको सोचकर आप चलेंगे, एंटिसिपेट करेंगे, तो आपका प्रेशर कम होने की संभावनाएं ज़्यादा है। फिर आता है कि अपनी जो अहमियत है उसे कभी कम ना करें। हमेशा अपनी अहमियत को जरूर ऊपर करके रखें, क्योंकि आपका जो सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस है, आपकी जो सेल्फ एस्टीम है, जो आपका आत्मविश्वास है, वो ऊपर रहना बहुत आवश्यक है। और हमेशा उन सिचुएशंस को याद करें, नंबर 7, जब आपने बड़ा अच्छा परफॉर्म किया, जो भी आपकी कंडीशंस थी, जो भी सिचुएशंस थी, जब आपने अच्छा परफॉर्म किया और आपका पॉजिटिव जीपीएस, आजकल जीपीएस तो हम यूज़ करते ही हैं, ग्लोबल पोजीशनिंग सिस्टम की बात जहाँ की जा रही है, यहाँ पे एक इंडिविजुअल पोजीशनिंग सिस्टम है कि अपना पॉजिटिव जीपीएस यूज़ करें, पॉजिटिव लोगों के साथ रहें, पॉजिटिव दोस्तों के साथ रहें, पॉजिटिव बातें ही सोचें और पॉजिटिव ही बातें करें। ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है। ये इसको एक तरीके से स्ट्रक्चर वैसे करते रहना। और जैसे हमने कहा कि फोकस करना है मिशन पे, उसी से रिलेटेड एक पॉइंट है कि स्टे इन द मोमेंट। जो आपके पास जो चीज़ सामने है उसी के मोमेंट में रहना आपको करना पड़ेगा, आपको डिस्ट्रैक्ट नहीं होना पड़ेगा। ये एक बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर है प्रेशर को रिलीज करने के लिए और प्रेशर में परफॉर्म करने के लिए। और एक बात आती है कि जो भी ये कंट्रोल फ्रीक, यानी जो आपके नियंत्रण में चीज़ है, जो आपके नियंत्रण में है, उसको फॉर ग्रांटेड ना लें। यानी उसको ये ना सोचे कि इसको मैं नज़रअंदाज कर सकता हूं। जो आपकी कंट्रोल में चीज़ है उसे ज़रूर पूरी जैसे संलग्नता से, शिद्दत से करें। और जैसे मैंने कहा, जो आपका बहुत बढ़िया गाना हो सकता है, जैसे मैंने कहा मेरा गाना है DDLJ, तुझे देखा तो ये जाना सनम। तो जब भी मैं प्रेशर फील करता हूँ, इस गाने को मन में गुनगुनाने लगता हूँ, क्योंकि 1995 की जब मैं सेकेंड ईयर कॉलेज में था, मेरी बड़ी अच्छी यादें जुड़ी हुई हैं इस गाने से। तो मुझे आज भी ये गाना मेरे प्रेशर को और स्ट्रेस को रिलीज करने में मदद करता है और प्रेशर में परफॉर्म करने में सहायक होता है। फिर आता है कि आपको कोई ना कोई एनालॉजी, यानी किस तरीके से आप प्रेशर को हैंडल करते हैं, वो बड़ा समझना ज़रूरी है कि कैसे आप, जैसे कि मैं एक एनालॉजी यूज़ करता हूँ किसी भी सिचुएशन में, मैं ये देखता हूँ कि मुझे 40 गेंद में 67 रन चाहिए बनाने के लिए, मैं क्रिकेट फ्रीक हूँ, या 20 गेंद में 35 रन चाहिए, या 11 बॉल में 27 चाहिए, उसी हिसाब से मैं अपना रिस्पॉन्स और जैसे मैं सोच रहा हूँ किसी किसी सिचुएशन के बारे में वो डिटरमाइन करता हूँ। हो सकता है कई बार ऐसा हो, डू और डाई सिचुएशन है, आपको 3 गेंदों में ऑलमोस्ट 15 रन चाहिए, यानी आप कोई भी गेंद मिस नहीं कर सकते, तो आपको अपने लक्ष्य पर बहुत निर्धारित तरीके से कार्य करना पड़ेगा। तो एनालॉजी आपको अपने मन में उसको इस्तेमाल करना बड़ा ज़रूरी है। फिर और भी बातें हमने कही कि अपने आप को प्रेशर करें, अपने आप को ट्रेन करें। अगर आप एक स्टूडेंट हैं, अगर आप 3 घंटे का एग्जाम होता है तो उसे घर पे 2 घंटे में प्रैक्टिस करें, और इस तरह की चीज़ें। और एक बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़, राइट ब्रेन और लेफ्ट ब्रेन, हम हमेशा सुनते हैं क्रिएटिव और लॉजिकल, तो कहते हैं कि अगर आप प्रेशर में हैं तो लेफ्ट बॉल, हाथ में बॉल लेकर उसको स्क्वीज करें, उससे आपके राइट ब्रेन में थोड़ा ब्लड रिलीज होता है और आप अच्छा महसूस करते हैं। और परफॉर्मेंस अगर आपकी आ रही है, आप स्टेज पर कुछ प्रेजेंटेशन देने के लिए जा रहे हैं और आप वाकई में बहुत नर्वस फील कर रहे हैं, तो इस लेफ्ट हैंड को आप प्रेस कर सकते हैं, उससे आपको आसानी होगी कि आप परफॉर्म कर सकें। और एक और चीज़, राइट प्रेशर ऑफ, यानी प्रेशर के बारे में आप उसको लिखें। अगर आप बहुत महत्वपूर्ण तरीके से प्रेशर फील कर रहे हैं, जैसे कोविड में है, आजकल लोग बहुत प्रेशर में हैं, बिजनेसेस आर डिरेल्ड, बड़ी मुश्किलें हैं, कि लिखिए क्या क्या पॉजिटिव चीज़ें आपकी लाइफ में हैं और कौन सी नेगेटिव चीज़ें लाइफ में हैं। तो उसको लिखना बड़ा ज़रूरी है। लिखने से भी प्रेशर विलीन हो जाता है जिसे कहते हैं, या जैसे कहते हैं कि घुलने लगता है, तो बड़ा ज़रूरी है। अपनी सेल्फ कॉन्शियसनेस को थोड़ा दूर कीजिए, बहुत ज़्यादा कॉन्शियस रहने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। मैं जानता हूँ ये बातें कहना और करना में बहुत फ़र्क है, लेकिन बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है, बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण है कि इन चीज़ों को हम समझें और उसी तरीके से आगे बढ़ें। फिर आती है हमारे एपिसोड 11 में, जब हमने बात की थी, आखिरी जो 6 चीज़ें थी, मेडिटेशन। देखिए, योगा मेडिटेशन को मैं बहुत ज़्यादा एम्फेसाइज एपिसोड में नहीं करना चाहता, क्योंकि कुछ लोग उसको धार्मिक या रिलीजियस बातों से मान लेते हैं, लेकिन जो भी कोई इसको देख रहा है, मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि एक अंतर्धान होना या अपने आप को अपने आप में सेंटर करना बड़ा ज़रूरी है। आप किसी भी तरीके से कर सकते, किसी भी जिस भी चीज़ को मानते हैं, आप मेडिटेट करें, आप बैलेंस करें, क्योंकि बॉडी, माइंड और सोल, सभी का जो बैलेंस है वही आपको हर चीज़ को परफॉर्म करने में या बैलेंस करने में या मैनेज करने में मदद करता है। और प्री रूटीन रखें, जिस तरीके से आप अच्छा महसूस करते हैं वो कार्य सुबह उठकर शाम तक जरूर करें। अपने डिसिप्लिन रूटीन से भटके नहीं। कई बार आप डिसिप्लिन रूटीन से भटक जाते हैं तो भी आपकी सेल्फ एस्टीम, या कहें तो अपने आप से नाराज़ होने लगते हैं, और वो अपने आप से नाराज़ होना भी आपके स्ट्रेस को बढ़ाता है, और स्ट्रेस बढ़ने से प्रेशर में काम करने की जो चांसेस हैं या फिर जो उसके एक चांस है वो कम हो जाता है। फिर स्पीड किल्स, कहते हैं कि देखिए जी, स्पीड हमेशा अगर आप ज़्यादा रखेंगे हर चीज़ की तो डेफिनेटली आपको नुकसान हो सकता है। तो इसमें आपको ये देखना बड़ा ज़रूरी है कि कैसे आप प्रेशर मोमेंट्स में अपनी स्पीड को थोड़ा स्लो डाउन करें। मेरे एक बहुत अच्छे दोस्त थे जो कि नाइजीरिया से आते थे, और उन्होंने मुझसे कहा था कि स्लो डाउन, जब भी ज़्यादा आप दबाव महसूस करें थोड़ा स्लो डाउन हो जाए, ब्रीथ नेचुरली। और अगर आपके पास फर्स्ट एडवांटेज है कहीं पे कुछ बात करने की, या किसी काम को करने की, तो किसी भी महत्वपूर्ण कंडीशन में, प्रेशर सिचुएशन में उसको जरूर करें। और एक बात बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, जो 22वां नंबर है, जो बड़ा ज़रूरी है, अभी रिसेंटली काफ़ी चीज़ें हम सुनने में आ रही हैं जो अच्छी न्यूज़ नहीं है, अपने प्रेशर को शेयर ज़रूर करें। अपने प्रेशर को जब अपने अंदर रखने लगते हैं और किसी से शेयर नहीं करते हैं तो वो मैग्नीफाई होने लगता है, बढ़ने लगता है, और उसके बाद आप में समस्याएं ज़्यादा हो सकती हैं। तो इन सभी बातों को अगर आप ध्यान रखते हैं तो आपको नज़र आएगा कि आप बहुत हद तक प्रेशर को मैनेज कर सकते हैं। इंग्लिश में मैं कुछ और एपिसोड्स कर रहा हूं, जब मैं उनको ख़त्म कर लूँगा तो फिर मैं हिंदी में भी फिर से कुछ करने के लिए आपके सामने एपिसोड्स रखूँगा। तो मुझे लगता है ये आपको एपिसोड्स पसंद आए होंगे। ये जिस था जो मैंने 12 एपिसोड इंग्लिश में किए डिटेल में, उसका जिस्ट मैंने हिंदी में किया है अपने उन दोस्तों के लिए जो ये कह रहे थे कि उनको हिंदी में सुनना अच्छा लगेगा। तो इसी बहाने फिर से मुलाकात होगी यू टॉक्स में। देखते रहिए यू टॉक्स, सब्सक्राइब कीजिए, प्रमोट कीजिए, और जो लोग प्रेशर में हैं उनकी मदद जरूर कीजिए। थैंक यू वेरी मच। तो एक व्यूअर ने भी हमसे पूछा है कि हाउ टू कंट्रोल the overthinking. So Privil, thanks for your question, and I would like to say that if you are involved in a deep and long action, that can control your overthinking.